Hey there, Holo Heads. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are as chill on this rainy night in Canada as I am, eh? Holy crap there, buds. So, I know I said I wasn't going to do anything more on Holo Fuel, but I feel like a lot of people are missing. Like I did something on market cap and how Holo Fuel drives its pricing. I think it might have been a little bit too complicated, so I'm going to break that down for you guys in the most like I'm hoping the most understandable. I'm not even understanding myself. Anyways, the most understandable way possible. I've decided to sit down and turn on the fireplace and have a chiller setting because I know the last time I was a little furious towards people asking about market cap and saying things like when $1 impossible market cap, hurdy, dar. And yes, I hear it all day, every day, and I have this conversation quite often. So, since the last video was not clear enough, I decided I am going to, in fact, break it down even more and hopefully make it even more understandable. So without further ado, I'm tyeRish, and everything from this point out shouldn't be considered fact. It is just research done and presented to you from my perspective. All right, so let's get on with it. Right now, this is where we're sitting, and I'm going to be doing a fictitious coin called Giggity Coin. Giggity. Anyways, so you can basically picture a coin vault, almost like a pool, right? Like most coins these days, especially a lot of the altcoins, are basically just pools of money, all right? And how those pools of money are divided in order to get you the value per coin that is filling up the pool is by your total supply, which would be your available volume of the pool, so how much water you can put into it. Your market cap is how much water is already in it, and then your coin is basically every unit of water, okay? So how they calculate that is they basically take the total supply, they divide it by the market cap, or no, they take the market cap and they divide it by the total supply, and then and that gives you the price per coin. Okay, so this means that this price of the coin is solely dependent on this pool of water, right? And there's a lot of people out there with lots of water in really big buckets, and they can pull as much of that water in and out as they want and completely control this price. Okay, that price is fully manipulatable, and the reason that charts and predictions kind of work is the sense that these guys with all this money, think of them as chess masters. Okay, they're sitting there and they're watching the same charts you are, they're using the same patterns you're using. It's like a big casino run by people with a lot of money, and essentially, I'm probably going to get shot for saying this, I'm sorry, but people need to know, all right? You're just a pawn in that game, likely. If you're anything like me or 99% of the other traders, you are just a pawn in this game of chess. And a thing I learned in Forex trading was play as the banker. The banker always wins, the house always wins. So you have to imagine yourself as the guy with all the money and thinking that all these people are reading these charts. So when are they going to buy? When are they going to sell? And always kind of think like, essentially it's if there was 3 trades leading up to it and now you're finally thinking, okay, that's the time I go in. That would be the time that you want to go out and bet against the house, because you should be playing against yourself as intuition. They're essentially baiting you up and then dropping you out, right? And this is where leverage traders a lot get burnt. This is like a liquidation process. There's a guy that just sits there. He basically has lended all the money for the shares, and he'll just pull the rug out, take all those shares for himself, put the money back in, drive the value up, sell those shares, and now he's fucking rich, right? Even more rich. So leverage trading is dangerous because it's gambling. It's essentially what it is. You're literally gambling in like a world casino, and they're just playing with you essentially. And it's nice though, because as just like someone like me, you can put a few $100s in, walk away from it, let the whales play with their food, and then come back a few months later, a year later, and your money's gone insanely high because of all the traders that have been trying to trade against this whole game. But by being a hodler, you've kind of just rid the roller coaster, and when you have your profit, you take the money out, boom, gone, done, right? Because what goes up is going to come down, what goes down is going to come up in the market. It's just how long can you hold on to that position. And when you're leverage trading, normally it's not very long because you're using things like 1 to 100, 1 to 200 leverage. So every $1 that you're putting up, they're putting up 200. So when you go negative, if you don't have a stop loss, that money's gone ski in like a flash of a second. So now that we understand that you are essentially in a community swimming pool and the whales are essentially just messing with you guys. They're like drowning you and then they're saving you, and then they're drowning you and then they're saving you, and then essentially you're at their whim. So now that we understand that market, we're going to go into blockchain versus holochain. Really simple concept. Blockchain is essentially a security generated by a bunch of computers agreeing and discovering security tokens, right? So, and then we use these tokens and assign them in order to secure data and information across the network. Simple enough. And then Holochain, the network is that security, the random hash code. Like it is the entire internet infrastructure is the token. That is why they are able to build such a lightweight currency on top of it, is because what blockchain essentially is on the network is now the network. Let that fucking shake in your little ding dong there for a minute. Well, no, that's the ding dong. Well, I mean, we're guys, right? They're both ding dongs. So next we've got HoloFuel as a mutual credit currency. This is where a lot of people are getting confused, is where does my value come from? I don't understand asset backing, blah, blah, blah. Like, where's the actual value? Where's the value? And the fact that, like, you even... the fact that people are even upset, or I don't want to say confused, because confused makes sense. It's different, right? But so defensive against it is just showing how much you're brainwashed to this system. I pointed at the right thing without looking. It's like backwards in the computer, so you know what? So you're brainwashed in this mentality so much that you're defensive towards what this amazing thing is. So essentially, a mutual credit currency, like I've said before, is a currency that's agreed upon mutually within an ecosystem. So the HoloFuel itself, if we think of it as a physical object, is essentially worthless by itself. It itself has no value. It's just a thing that exists, right? But the network that it gives you access to now provides it its value. So the hosting network and the developers agree upon kind of costs and prices and stuff like that, and this then generates the value of the HoloFuel within the ecosystem. And then it's up to how much people are willing to pay for that HoloFuel, that then essentially gives it that value outside the ecosystem, similar to, like, say, a trading card, right? You have a Pokemon card. I've used this analogy before. And if you go to like a Magic the Gathering, you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh convention, this card is worthless. It's nothing. Like, they'd look down upon you and get your Pokemon away from my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. My blue-eyed white dragon will stuff that little Charizard biznatch. They probably talk like that. I've never been to one, but I've been to like a Hearthstone tournament before. Anyways, nerdy shit. But if you go into the trading card exchange or center, like somewhere that specializes within trading cards, they can then give that card value and hook you up with potential buyers. You can go to eBay, which is a digital exchange, and use that card and take that value and then trade it for money there, because in the Pokemon community of collectors and shop owners and the trading card community, it is worth a certain value, right? So that is where it gains its value. Like the Pokemon cards themselves are mutual credit currency. They are mutually agreed upon prices within the community. You cannot go to a store and buy something with it unless the guy's a total fucking nerd. Then you know, you give him a holographic Charizard worth 100 grand, and you're like, yo, fuck, bro, hook me up with a Rockstar. You'd be an idiot to say no. Anyways, so this this asset that you now have access to with HoloFuel, it is cloud computing, it is web hosting, it is infinitely scalable, adaptable. You can make it as small as you want for like a small business application. You can make it as large as you want for an entire world connection. I go into all of this stuff about what kind of Holochain and the Holo network is in other videos, but essentially to put number values on, less than 10 years ago, the cloud computing industry was at about $60 billion. Today, we're looking at about $140 billion, and in 5 years, they're estimating almost $1 trillion. This is a very fast growing industry. Web hosting, too, is worth like, I think it was like something like 181 billion right now, and it was something like 80 to 60 billion or something like that almost 10 or not even 5 years ago, and they're estimating to be over $1 trillion in the next 10 years as well. So it's like you've got two big industries that you're tapping into and offering a very premium version of. Like we're talking about, instead of data being stored in a central location and having access to a whole bunch of different people also renting those servers, you now have completely scattered the information and decentralized it all, and it's in a secure form that is essentially, like I said as well, unpenetrable. Because even if, like, let's say Rain Man himself penetrated one Holoporter node and grabbed that information, he would have nothing. He would have shards of information that he wouldn't even know what he's looking at. It would just be partial information. Think about like BitTorrents. BitTorrenting works in a similar fashion across a centralized network, right? You've got P2P access to fractions of information that, as long as you have the initial code to start the transaction, to pull from all those computers, that sharded information is basically worthless. So it's literally, it's like a no-brainer that this will disrupt the cloud computing industry, and that's why there's probably going to be a lot of like hate campaigns towards it. There's going to be a lot of resistance, because they are freeing us from the basically Big Brother. They're freeing us from being controlled by our information, by someone storing and selling you your life back to you. They're saving you from that. They're freeing you from that. You might be saying, well, then where's the money being generated? Well, every single transaction on the Holo network, up to 1% of that is then like similar to a gas fee, but way cheaper. Less than 1% of each of those transactions is then basically taken as like a transaction tax, which is really low if you think about how much the transaction fees on like a Visa transaction cost. If you think about what the gas fees on Ethereum, those are really expensive. And like, just if you if you line it up against other networks, it's so lightweight and so cheap. It's not even funny. Like there's nothing like it out right now, and it's happening whether you like it or not, and it will take over the industry. If you're wondering why there hasn't been any marketing on it, is because they don't really need to market to end users. They are more interested in marketing to developers and attracting developers, and those developers will then be in charge of marketing to the consumers, right? Like, so we're talking about, this is more than just cloud computing. This is more than just web hosting. This is essentially a brand new internet, and it's completely decentralized. It's, like I said, it's freedom of information. You will finally be free to just be whoever you want on the internet. You own your information, or you can host your information and scatter it across the internet, and essentially you have full control, full 100% autonomy on your data. So this is once again, like I said, a huge industry. It's only getting bigger. And now your money will be backed by this industry by owning Holo Fuel. So like I say, I don't ever give investment advice, but I try to give you enough research and information to make decisions on your own. What would you prefer where would you prefer your money to be? A place where at any time all the whales can pull out and your fucking money's worthless? Or secure, and that's the other thing. The stable coin doesn't mean it's just gonna tether, like it'll balance out obviously at a value when it first starts up. Like it'll take a while before, once hollow fuel and hot are separated and left to the exchange and reserve, it will take a while for like the system to balance out, but it will eventually stabilize. But it's only stable due to the fact that it's an asset that is in use on the network, and that's where it drives its value from. It can't be manipulated by an outside source that can fluctuate the cost at will. That is why it's called a stable coin, is because it has no really manipulatable feature other than the hosts, but the hosts will always want best value for their hot, right? So you can basically trust that leaving it up to the host to decide the value of the fuel will be beneficial to everybody. That's like it's a win-win for everybody. Like they have so much control over the cost of the fuel that obviously within the limit of the hosting industry, that to be determined. You don't have to worry about them one day being like, oh, I want all this currency I'm making to be worthless. Yeah, no, fuck no. Why would they do that? Why would they sabotage themselves? It's essentially you can become a host as well and offer and influence that pool. We become in control. Us, all of the small people, all of the people running these holo nodes become the control of the cost of this value. Okay? Not 10 people, a million people. We basically take back control. We turn from the small guys to the big guys. And if that doesn't excite you, I honestly maybe go, no, I can't suggest any of that stuff. But yeah, maybe give your head a little shake. Because honestly, if you don't see more value in this side than you do this side, oh right, stablecoin, I got sidetracked. It might stabilize at a cost, but as the network grows, so will the value of the hot. Like as it becomes more valuable of an asset and grows and expands, now your value of your hot will increase with it. So if you're looking for $1 million overnight, gambling and hoping at the whim of everybody else, actually, I'm not going to give any investment advice. Take this information that I've given you, really give it a think. We're sitting at less than 3 cents right now per hot token, right? This is versus all of these other tokens that are out there that have absolutely no value. There's really nothing to them other than the fact that there's some sort of like niche adaptation to an industry of some sort. Not to undervalue those industries, but they're linked to a very specific niche market normally. Holo fuel, you're looking at accessing, like I said, a growing past the $1 trillion industry. It has value, it has asset, it is actually valuable. And this is only getting into like the bases. Like this network isn't limited to just IoT devices. Like we're talking about looking at, like, look up a company called RedGrid. They're developing an energy plan, infrastructure based on the Holochain ecosystem. It's incredible. And that's just some of the stuff to come. There's so many things that can be done with this network that its value is it's unfathomable. We can't even imagine when people come on with a prediction of hot when Holo Fuel is going to be out in like less than a year. It drives us a little bit crazy because they obviously didn't do any research. They haven't studied. They don't understand what they have their hands on yet. And 3 cents per freaking hot token that's ridiculous. Last but not least, Cmc Coin Market Cap. A lot of people are concerned about this because they're so stuck on this method. They don't understand how they're going to access kind of like the same infrastructure over on this side. The value of holofuel cannot be calculated on the CMC. There needs to be a new whole algorithm put together in order to start calculating these new currencies, especially with the Holochain ecosystem being so adaptable and people being able to just develop their own current mutual credit currencies within their own ecosystems on the Holochain, based off of Holofuel. And they can even use Holofuel within their little small ecosystems. It's incredible. Anyways, they would need an asset-based system because it does not have a market cap. Its value comes from the infrastructure. It comes from the computing power. It comes from what it is. It comes from the asset. It does not, you can buy a bajillion Pokemon cards. It doesn't increase or decrease really the price of the cards in the market. You can still, like, after I buy 5,000 cards, I can go out and buy another 5,000 for the exact same price. It doesn't change. But what does change is the value of how rare some of those cards are. This is kind of like a really bad example because there's so much fluctuation between the cards' values. But assume all the cards were worth the same amount of money, you could go out and buy as many as you want. It doesn't change the value of it, right? It's up to the hosts and the way that they interact with the reserve and the exchange that will basically determine the value of it, how they interact with the reserve, the exchange, and as well as how basically the tiered versions of the hosting sales and the price per holo fuel and all of that is calculated. But we don't have that information yet, so don't think like that. When that information comes out, I will do a video on it, I promise. But anyways, what we're going to need is a CAV, which is a current asset value to rank the mutual credit currencies. That would be the only way, because its value comes from the asset, whereas the coin market cap values come from the market cap, right? Once again, no market cap on the holofuel side. It is asset-backed mutual credit currency. It is far more secure. It has way more potential, and honestly, it's pretty much better in every way. So if you guys have any other questions behind the market cap versus the asset backing, you let me know, okay? This has become a very long video, but I really wanted to drive these points home and get you to fully understand exactly what you have your hands on here. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, go dig into the Holochain ecosystem and look at the current partnerships and the ideas, the whole theory. Like, these people are fucking dreamers, like, and they are bringing their dreams to life. The future looks really good on Holochain. And I'm not even a member of Holo. I just am a techie, and I know when I stumbled upon these guys, I knew exactly what I was looking at when I saw it, and I can tell you what's coming will frickin' change the way that we communicate as a civilization. It sounds far-fetched, but honestly, it's not. It's not. So without further ado, I'm tyeRish, and I really hope that helped you. Holo love you guys. Now I'm going to awkwardly make my way over to the camera and try to turn it off in one click. Oh yeah, squats are good.